Hello and welcome to Gunnar Weiskamp's Web Development. Today, Lesson 10, looking at Angular services, just some common Angular services. As it mentions there, we will be talking about common Angular services in point A there. So, the first one is the window object. This service has a number of properties like the confirm dialog box. The location object. In here you can get the current URL of the website. The timeout object service. Using this you can set a certain time that the application has to wait before it calls a certain function. Interval service. With this guy you can make a process or function run at a certain timed intervals. So, whoops. Can never win with this one. Anyway, if you want to create today's application, I am using 2013. Just start new project here in A as shown, and then the next screen, make sure you got this framework selected, ASP.NET Web Application selected. In the next screen you should have empty and nothing ticked, just wanting a complete empty application. So, oops, oh, can't win. Right, so now if we go down to here, let's bring up our app here. So this is our interface we've got. Let's make it nice and big. So you've got here our folder structure. You might want to add these in to make all this work. I've added 3 images. You don't have to have the exact same images for the effect that we're going to cause. Just have any random 3 images. And obviously create an images folder there. I have downloaded Angular and placed that in here. If you're wondering how that works, see my first tutorial. Yeah, you don't. I have placed in the routes Angular here. You don't need that. Just a normal Angular download and make sure that's in there. Sorry, in here is also my app script, which you can see here. That's this guy. He's in there, so that's where he's called from. And I've created a number of HTML items here: interval, locations, test, timeout, and Windows HTML, and we'll explain each of those with their individual services. So, based upon that, we will do this guy first. Can I get the split screen effect? No, it's not that. There, yay. Right, so on our left here, we've got our HTML code. We're going to do the Windows service in here. So make sure it's fleshed out as shown here. I've got my Angular scripts being called here. Make sure this is always got the ng app. We have talked about him in the past. Our ng controller for this one will be called the my controller window. So in here we've just got a bunch of buttons, and they'll do different actions. They're calling the ng click to call certain functions, which is going to be in our Angular script in 2 seconds. So just look out for those functions over here in our Angular script. And we're going to show certain parameters via the use of Angular expressions here. But look out for those objects over here as well, which we're going to grab right now. So here's our Windows controller. Let's put him across here. So yeah, here's our Windows controller. So notice with Angular, as we've talked about before, you have to inject the process that's, if you're going to use a process, you've got to inject it. So we're going to use the Windows service process, so we have to inject it here into our function. So these guys here will be shown over here, as mentioned. So have a look, keep a look out for those. As we can see, we have 4 functions in here. So let's talk a little bit about the properties we're going to show for the Windows services. This is the outer width one, and it can show the outer width of your window. Below here is our outer height guy, and it shows the height of your current window. And we're going to store that here in our scope variables. Here we've got another function down here, our open window function, and in the Windows services is what's called the open function. So you can use the Windows service to open and go to another page, and in this case we're going to go to our test page here to demonstrate that. In the window object is also a confirm the dialog box, so you can call that to show, do you want to delete? That's what I've put in here. You can put your own message in there. Do you want to delete? Are you sure you want to delete? You can put whatever message you want in there. So that's the Windows Service confirm function. So we have as you can see for yourself, the Windows, as I'm moving up here, the different parameters and properties that the window object can call. There are many others, so these are just a few of them. But you might find this one a common good one to call at times, the open one. So that is it. These functions are all, like I mentioned, are all called here by the certain button clicks. So that is all that magic. If we bring up our window here, that's everything's there, as we can see. So now when we click on our open window, we will go to this test page here. See, we've gone to our test window here, so that's pretty straightforward. So window width and window height. So our width currently is 734, and our height is 458. If we resize this a little bit, just say to that, we click on the code now, we can see it's changing because obviously our width and the height is changing. So a useful bit of technology if you need to maybe look to see if you're interfacing with a tablet or a mobile device. The last one is the window confirm. So here we go. As I mentioned, that's this guy being called here. Do you want to delete? So the Windows object confirm, and you can put in any message there that you want, cancel or OK, and you can actually in your code here also find out which one was clicked. But so that's that guy there. Righty, okay, so that's our Windows object talked about. What have we got next on the list is our location object. So we will put him in there as well. And let's get our location object in the mix here. Hold on. Whoa, everything's happening at once. Okay, so here we have our location HTML page. With the location object, it can be useful. One of its primary functions, you can grab the URL that the current window is at, and then you can use that in many different ways. So here we're just going to demonstrate that little guy, that little bit of technology. So if we open up this guy, location, there you go. Okay, so obviously, yeah, we're going to see our local host there. But if you were on your main website like Google or something like that, you could grab the Google URL out of that. This is obviously shown by our expression here. If you're wondering how that works, this guy here is shown here by the use of Angular expressions. So that's the location object. A little short one on that. We're going to do our interval one next. So if we drag him and put that code in there, let's get rid of him. Right, so here's our interval guy. The interval guy can be quite useful to show, well, what it does, it shows it can run a certain process or do a certain action in an interval timed approach. So, okay, I guess it's best to explain it. I should mention we've got different controllers here for each one named properly. Sorry, let's do our HTML page first. In here we've got just an image tag with our ngr source. Ngr source can be used to set the source of the image, and this will be done by this magic. This expression will get the directory here from our code over here, and then render that image. So that's all we've got in our HTML. So let's look at our Angular code. So first we set our changed image object here to a default, and that's going to be the pictures from our directory here to Mr. Confused. If you're confused now, don't worry, you won't be confused soon. So here's our function that that's going to come into play in our interval in a second. So this function, what does it do? It's going to change the image. So first it does is just checks, is our image currently Mr. Confused? If yes, let's change it to Mr. Happy, because you're no longer confused. Now, if you are Mr. Happy, sooner or later you have to be Mr. Sad. Everybody's sad sometimes. So this is what this checks, and then this changes to Mr. Sad. And again here the same, if you're Mr. Sad, then we'll go back to Mr. Confused. Make sure you return, otherwise it'll just not work correctly in each one as well. So how does this come into play, and how does it sort of work? This is via our Angular interval service. What this does, so we pass in here the function name, that's that guy, and we're going to say, right, run this, and I believe that's every 10 seconds, run this function every 10 seconds. So this will run 10 seconds, the first 10 seconds it'll come into here and it'll say, oh, are you Mr. Confused? And it will be, and then it changes that image to Mr. Happy, and then it'll return, it'll finish. Next 10 seconds it'll come in here, are you Mr. Happy? And now he will be happy, and then he'll change it to Mr. Sad. And then after that 10 seconds this code will run into here because he will be Mr. Sad. So that's the simple way of that this is going to work out. So let's have a look at that in action. Oops, no, didn't want to click on that. Okay. Right, so okay, here we go. Right, so we are Mr. Confused. I'm going to just start this from the start with our code there in action. So as you can see, Mr. Confused will come up first because we're setting Mr. Confused there. After 10 seconds, watch what happens. It'll change to, whoa, it's going quicker. So it's actually running, I think, possibly every second. But you can see the process happening here. So this is the reason this is changing. This is called every certain X amount. Let's make this a little bit slower then. And that must be every 5 seconds. I'm calling it too quickly. But you'll see this process slow down a little bit now. So you can see it's going quite quickly. But because we've changed here this timeout process to 5 seconds, it'll happen a little bit slower. I'm confused, I'm happy now. Now I'm back to sad, and now I'm back to confused. So that's making it run a little bit slower. So that's the power of interval. You can use this a lot in certain graphical areas of your application to make things more interesting. Okay, so now we'll grab our last guy, which is timeout. Okay, so yep, okay, right. Okay, let's have a look at Mr. Timeout. Okay, let's try and split screen it. Okay, Mr. Timeout. So, as you can see, we have to inject the timeout just like the interval and just like the window into our controller so we can get it and work with it. So here's our timeout service. What does this do? Let's just explain. Oh, okay, no, we're here now. What it's going to do is it's going to call this function after a certain timed out process. So I think that's 2 seconds. So after the window opens up, it'll wait for 2 seconds and then run this function here. This function, all we're doing is going to add the current value in here and add 1 to it, which will be 2. After it runs that, it won't run it again. That's the difference between the timeout and the interval. I think we'll extend that a little bit. I think that's going to be 6 seconds. Yes, over here is our timeout code. Quite straightforward. We've just make sure you got your controller set right. And we're just showing here an expression of this count object here. Okay. So let's save everything. And this is timeout. So it'll go from 1 to 2. That'll be about 6 seconds, I believe. Yeah, close enough. So it's a simple demonstration. The timeout can be used, obviously, if you're wanting to do something after the application loads. You can have a wait out there. You can see this as a wait out or a timeout. Right. Oh no, I didn't want to click on that. Okay. So I hope some of these Angular services, Angular services have been valuable. I do appreciate any feedback, and I hope you have a good day. Thanks. Bye.